Well, thanks for joining us here in the gardens. I'm really happy to be able to talk to you about gardening for wildlife, trying to enhance any garden. It can be a large garden like we have here, or it can be a small patio or even a balcony. One of the major components of a wildlife habitat is water sources. You want to make sure that you do have a water source. Food, of course, is very important, including nectar, berries, nuts, things like that, seeds, of course. And you're also going to want to include sheltered places, places that animals can seek out refuge and hide during the day or times that they're sleeping. And also, you want them to be able to have safe places to raise their young. Now, let's start off with the water source. Water sources are very important. All living creatures need water to survive. And you can have something as elaborate as a pond. Now, a large pond is going to serve a lot of benefits to wildlife. A large pond is not only going to create drinking water, but it's also going to be providing nesting places for waterfowl, perhaps even spawning grounds for amphibians like toads and frogs. And of course, fish will live in the pond as well. But if you don't have a big pond and you don't have as much space to install one, a bird bath or even a shallow dish of water like this can be a lifesaver. It can give small mammals and even birds and even some insects a drink of water. Over here is a great example of some thick bushes that are very beneficial to wildlife. These dense shrubs here, these are actually dogwood bushes, and they're not only going to provide sheltered locations for animals and nesting areas for birds, but they also produce flowers, which are also going to produce nectar, which is going to provide food for butterflies and bees, as well as the flowers will eventually turn into berries, providing even more food for the wildlife that might visit your yard. Logs and dead trees are also very good components to have in your wildlife garden. These logs will provide shelter for animals, perhaps even small reptiles and amphibians can live inside there. Leaf piles are also very beneficial. In cold climates and cold weather, bats have even been known to shelter in leaf litter. So man-made features can also provide great extras in your wildlife habitat. Various bird houses are important. Bat houses, of course, we always want to include a bat house, and you can even have something like a toad house. We'll go ahead and put this one in right now. Let's come over here and take a look at our bird feeding station. Bird feeders can be very helpful to wildlife in our wildlife garden. We have various types of seeds in our bird feeders and different types of styles. Today we're going to install a new hummingbird feeder. Now we're here in one of my favorite spots, the garden. These plants here can actually provide lots of food and shelter and even nurseries for some animals. For example, this beautiful plant right here is called butterfly weed, and it's a native plant, native here to Michigan, and it's also a very special plant because the monarch butterfly lays its egg on milkweed plants, and it's the only type of plant that the caterpillars from the monarch butterflies can eat. So monarch butterflies love milkweeds. Not only do we have this beautiful orange butterfly weed, but you can get milkweed in different types as well. Now this one's not blooming, but this is our swamp milkweed too. These are native as well, and they have pink flowers, very similar to the orange ones we see here. Some of the other favorites of mine in this garden, I see ironweed and bergamot and green-headed coneflowers. Also some purple coneflowers. Purple coneflowers are some of my favorites in the garden. Not only do they attract butterflies by providing nectar during the day, but they're also in the fall going to provide seeds for the birds. And at night, when the flowers are in full bloom, the moths will also come. And moths, of course, are food for the bats. So if you want to attract bats to your garden, make sure you put some purple coneflower in there, because that'll be attracting moths at night, which will provide food for the bats. And if you really want to garden for bats, try creating a night garden where you use plants like evening primrose, 4 o'clocks, and moonflowers. These flowers open their blossoms in the evening or at night. Often white flowers too stand out in the moonlight. You can even add your own little personal touches by putting in some solar landscaping items as well. Quite often our perennials don't bloom right away. We do have a few. Our black-eyed Susan and our butterfly weed is blooming, but the rest of them bloom a little bit later in the season. You can always add some colorful annuals to your perennial garden to add some color a little bit early. You guys want to help me plant these now? All right, let's go. Thank you so much for coming with me and taking a walk through our wildlife habitat, and thanks for helping enhance it. Remember, no matter how big or small your space is, you can always add components to help attract wildlife. And a quick tip, hummingbirds love these trumpet-shaped flowers.